2 weeks, we began this thought about one of the major things that the Jews teach their children, which is that sense of individuality. And we've been on it for 2 Mondays now. Here's one thing I want you to have at the front of your mind, that there are no clones in God. There are no clones in God. What? So believers must begin to understand what it really means to be an individual. Believers must be able to develop that sense of individuality on their own. The first thing you need to know is this: no matter how identical you appear with anybody, no matter how much you look like anybody, deep down you are an individual. Deep down you are not anybody else, but you are a separate, uniquely carved out entity. Never forget this. There are no clones in God's world. You know, there is some form of uniqueness that makes you more obvious than everybody else in this world. Never because of the idea that somebody gains attention, somebody is given some form of accolade, begin to think that you are not in some way more unique than that person. So let this sink in. One of the lessons of the Jews is this: in some way, you are more unique than everybody else in this world. In some way, you are more unique than everybody else in this world. You must understand something. Individuality does not mean that you are standing out externally. Individuality means that you are who you are internally. So it's not so much as you are wearing different clothes. You know, some people wake up and say, I'm going to carve out a niche for myself. Then I'm going to be dressing these colors and dressing. Listen to me. Your dressing can never define your individuality, although your dressing may be able to reflect your individuality. So choosing to, in a sense, cut your hair a particular way does not mean you are now an individual. If you have not found who you are on your inside, if you have not been able to identify and then amplify your voice on your inside, your voice is your individuality. Your voice doesn't mean when you are speaking up. Your voice now is your logic. Your voice now is your thought pattern. So it is when you have been able to identify that. When I was talking last week about Elihu, I remember reading from Job 32 verse 20 to 22. Elihu said, I will speak that I may be refreshed. I will open my lips and answer. Let me not, I pray you, accept any man's person. Look at that. Let me not, I pray you, accept any man's person. If you are trying to be someone else, one of you is irrelevant, and oftentimes and always is the one trying to be someone else. He said, neither let me give flattering titles unto man, for I know not to give flattering titles. In so doing, my Maker will soon take me away. So if you don't make your opinion known, you will soon be gone. That if you don't make your thoughts revealed because of fear, you will lose your position. A lot of people are sitting at tables where they have no thoughts. Then everybody at the table knows that person is irrelevant to this table, and soon enough that person would be replaced. So Elihu found himself in a place where his position was going to disappear. The truth about it is this: once you are able to make your real thoughts known, there is some form of healing and balmness that comes to your soul. You know, in everything you do. From writing, I realize sometimes that I may just be writing the idea, but there's a thought in my heart that I want to express. And every time I've been able to really bring out that thought that is in my heart, then I begin to receive this certain sense of soothing in my soul. When you bottle things up, they start to affect you. So, what are we saying about all this concept about individuality? The truth is, many believers do not think. Many believers do not know and will not research the Bible for themselves. They have questions in their hearts. They have questions about their life. They have questions about the events around them, but they do not step out of themselves to actually seek the answers. To be able to do this, you have to be able to do what Paul calls in the Bible, quit yourselves as men and be strong. Look, something is going on in your house. You are losing things. Something is going on with your family. What you need to do is this. Take time to investigate. By investigate here, I mean gather information concerning what is going on. And as you gather information about the things going on, you are now able to look at all the information gathered. Then you by yourself interpret that information you gathered. Then based on your interpretation, you take a thought stand. So 3 things. Number 1, an individual has the ability to gather information about events and circumstances by himself. Number 2, an individual has the ability to interpret the information gathered by himself. And number 3, based on his interpretation, the individual is able to take a stand on any given subject, even if it's wrong or right. Now, what I'm trying to say is, many believers do not do this. One time I was interacting with someone, and every time I interact with this person, he seemed to always have very bright ideas. He seemed to always have very astute position on matters. As I interact with this person often, and then soon realize that he often changes his mind, maybe 3-4 times a day and all of that. He constantly changes his mind, even though he's always postulating great thoughts, great ideas. One day, it just dawned on me by the Spirit of God that everything this guy is saying is second-handed thoughts. Because he has access to certain people. All he does is just hears from this person, then he repeats. He hears from this person, then he repeats. Listen to me. The truth about it is, no matter who you have access to, however great the mind that you have access to, if you do not deliberately assimilate the thoughts of that great mind, give your own interpretation to it, then take your own stand, you are not an individual. You are not an individual. You must, and it happens a lot in the church. Because it seems as though now, we teach nobody should think, everybody, no. In God's plan, there are no clones. There are no clones. So you must begin to seek answers to the questions in your life. It is only there truly where you are seeking answers to the events of your life. That is when truly you can be an individual. So there is a star in your heart. Follow it. There is a light that is beaming on your inside. Trust your own genius. But you see, I'll tell you the work. I wouldn't just, trust your own genius can sound very, it's like a motivational cliche. What it takes to trust your own genius is the ability to build your own genius. And how do you build your own genius? I just gave you 3 steps. I gave you 3 steps. The ability for you to investigate. And how you investigate is number 1, don't forget these 3 steps. If all you get, consigning everything that you are involved in. Consigning everything. Listen to me. One time I shared it with a small group of people what the purpose of university education is. It's just that somehow the Nigerian university system is so porous. The real purpose of university is the opening of a man's mind to have his own thoughts. And thereby, the higher you go when you study in this life, you'll begin to see that at the highest form of education, people are not required to repeat what they are taught. People are required to amplify what they think. I will say this again. When you go to university, they say you are doing a project. What is a project? A project is supposed to be that you're given a subject, and once you are given that subject, you gather information about the subject. Sometimes you have to do some lab tests and all of that, questionnaire, gather statistics and all that. What is the second step of that gathering information? You investigate, that is, you interpret the information you gather. After you interpret that information that you have gathered, you are able to now say, from all these things, here is what I think. But you see, the higher you go, by the time you get to start doing masters, you are going to be presenting a thesis, your thought pattern on a subject. When you do PhD, you are coming out with an hypothesis. You are coming out, an hypothesis there is the beginning of a theory. Once your hypothesis is proven, they can name a theory after you. What does that tell you? It tells you that at the highest form of education, you are not required to repeat what you are taught. At the highest form of education, you are required to have a mind of your own and be amplifying your own voice, your own thoughts, be able to amplify your logic. And this is one of the key things that is missing in the household of faith. That a man is able to gather information. They call you in your office and they say to you, you should do this thing. Apparently there are universities in this world that the only way you can get into a particular, they call some things canonical studies. The only way you can get into a canonical study in any great institution in this world is that, look, this is the way they do it. They have a material, sometimes 2 books, 3 books. Once you say you want to enter, you want access into that canonical study of that particular institution, whether it's Harvard, Oxford, MIT, whatever it is, they give you these books. Once they give you this book, the re-entrance into that thing is that you are going to come for an oral exam. What this oral exam is this. Sometimes the author of the book will be there, but there's a panel that you will face, and you alone will sit there, facing the panel, and in this stance now you are required to share your own thoughts about the books. They will be asking you, what do you think of this character? How else do you think this character should go? So this is not that I read ABC in the book, therefore I wrote ABC. This is that I understood the architecture of that character. I understood the logic that forms that character's decision. And I queried it, and I came up with this, a mind of your own. A mind of your own. This is what it takes to be an individual. You listen to the news, and then they ask you what is going on. You just repeated what they said on the news. Somebody is sponsoring the news. Somebody is funding that news. The news is not yours to take hook, line, and sinker. The news is an information you gathered. 2 more steps is required if you're an individual. After you gather that information, interpret it, then make an opinion. Make an opinion. People are being fought all over the world. You see a person who says, I want this, I want that, this is where I'm going this way. You say, you are too opinionated. You are too opinionated. Listen to me. That right there is society trying to trump individuality. Everybody is supposed to be opinionated. To not be opinionated is to not have your own voice. Yes, many times you will be wrong. But as you grow and you open yourself to more knowledge, you'll be improving on your stance. You'll be improving on your stance. So I said, trust your genius, and it takes you building your genius, and I've explained it now, how to do so. So listen, one of the key things the Jews teach their children when it comes to individuality is this. They teach their children to fight with their own tools. Fight with your own tools. You remember the story of David. When the king Saul gave David his armor, that would be the best armor in the land. That would be the best armor in the land. David said, I'd rather fight with my own. I haven't proven this. That's what he said. So they teach their children to only fight with tools that they have proven. Stay with what you know, but this requires that you know something. This requires that you know at least one thing. This requires that you have proven one thing. Said to the king, listen, please listen. A school of wisdom. In this life, you will only trade with tools, weapons that you have proven. In this life, you would only be brought to the boardroom based on how well you have proven something. You have to prove something. So the challenge here now is, what have you proven? What have you proven? Any man that can show individuality in the face of opposition, like David did. See how these people that wear chains and armor and everything, that's the way to fight. David came and said, you know what? This is the one I know. This sling is the one I know. Any man that will be able to, and in ministry is the same thing. One of the reasons a lot of young people have not been able to carve out a space for themselves and begin to thrive in ministry is because somebody has told them, this is the way, this is the way, this is the only image, this is the only image, this is the only image. And that's not their tool. That's not their tool. Not everybody's going to hoop. That's not their tool. So if you are able to show individuality in the face of opposition, that is, you are able to stand as the conscious minority, only then will you see the hand of God. There you will see the hand of God. Too many times, that conformity with the majority is the weakness. It is the weakness. This individuality is the reason God called Abraham. I read it to you where it says, look to your father Abraham. Look at the source from when you are from. I'm from to Sarah that bore you. How I called him alone. So this has to do with the questions in your life, your immediate environment, the issues the people around you are talking about. Investigate them. Your voice lies in that investigation. So we talked about this last week, about how that problem solving, you taking on problem solving, is where idea generation lies. Don't assume anything. Do not assume anything. It is true when they say that assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Let there be intellectual integrity. Query it. Quiz your mind. Your mind is capable of a lot of things. Too many people make assumptions. Do the intellectual work to deal with the contradictions that create doubt around you. Let me tell you in simple terms what I just said. If there's anything that you have doubt about around you, that is a door of investigation. Go into query. Query it. I didn't say fight anybody. Query it would mean you gather information about it, you interpret the information you gathered, and then you clear the doubt by taking a stand. So there are areas of doubt around you. Do the intellectual work to deal with it. Today, Rick Warren has the highest selling book outside the Bible in the whole of the world. That is, the most sold book in this world is the Bible, number one. Number two, which is also the most shoplifted book, the most stolen book, the Bible. Number two is Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. Now, how did this man get the idea of writing a book like this? So he went inside the church, and he was in a city where there were big churches, mega churches, and all of that. And then he told himself that if he's just preaching, he wants to preach. There's no way he's going to outpreach these people. There's no way in this world what's going to go on here? What's going to go on? So he began to think and ask himself, what am I going to do? What kind of church do I want to build? It was in asking himself, what kind of church do I want to build? How do I answer the questions in the heart of the people around me? He go and investigate it. He was in asking these questions. He realized that there's one question that is most prevalent in the heart of everyone, and it is the question of purpose. And if I can answer that question, that's how Rick Warren built a church on purpose, wrote a book on purpose, and that book became his voice. What am I saying? Go back to this. This is just an example of what I said earlier. If you were asked the questions, quiz the things around you, and clear the doubts, your voice will be heard. So you have to do the work. Lazy believers will never find their voice. They will never ever find their voice. I'd like to end the subject of individuality today, I hope. Listen, another thing that helped the Jews to be able to achieve individuality in their children is that they never outsource parenting. They do what is called intensive parenting. They realize this, that the primary socializing agent in the life of the child must be the immediate family. The primary socializing agent. So what they do is intensive parenting. And intensive parenting involves primarily mentoring or mentorship. A lot of Nigerians believe that they have to work and give their children what they never have. What they never had. It's good. It's good. Good thinking. But providing is not the same thing as parenting. While providing is a part of parenting, parenting is really mentorship. Where the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, what the Bible was really talking about is the concept of mentorship, that is discipleship. Discipleship. The way a pastor is supposed to raise the people God gave to him to raise for ministry, that's the way a father and a mother are supposed to raise a child. Anybody in this world can pay their school fees. Foundations will pay their school fees that don't know them any day. But foundations can never really parent your child. The mistake the Gentiles make is this. Because they are trying to give their child some form of independence, they release their children too early from parental influence. But what happened now is this. A child really becomes emotionally independent at a particular age. Releasing that child to emotional independence before that age is you setting that child up. Is you setting that child up for social influence outside you. So what now happens is this. The children are not really independent emotionally, but the parents have taken them off parental influence. Because the children are still dependent, they now seek for that emotional approval, social direction from their friends, their schools, and most in recent times from the media. Most of our children are now raised by the media, raised by social media, raised by television, raised by gangs of the streets more than their parents have ever influenced them. And this is because these children have not reached emotional independence age, but the parents have released them. And our parents say, no, he said, let's not listen. Train up a child. Give him the fence. Give him the logic. Show him the parts. Then let him make up his mind from there. You know, let me tell you something really interesting. Never will the Jews outsource their parenting. The Jews, they do all sorts of parties with their children. In their household. I'm telling you, in their own house. You will see you will go and visit a Jewish family, and then they will tell you that by 6 p.m. we are all going upstairs to change into character clothes. We have character dinner. They have music special for that character dinner. They didn't invite anybody. Father, mother, children, they will dance, they will by themselves. So there is a certain sense of liberty of expression in the home that they give to their children. Therefore, nothing can take the children like that outside by surprise. So when the children see people dancing and drinking outside, they are not moved. But when the parents do not give them this thing, they will take it from the outside. So the Jews teach their children these things. Another thing that helps the Jews develop that strong sense of individuality is this. The Jews force their children. I use the word force. They will do it passively, many ways, different pattern, but it's really force. Their children into what we'll call solitary activities. So a Jewish child is supposed to be able to play one musical equipment or master one major sporting activity. Now, listen, there are two things they're achieving with this. They force the child, let's say, child A, you have to be a pianist. They give you different music equipment. You pick one, or you show interest in one. That's how you pick one. Or the one the child spends more time with. That's the one the child has picked. So the child A showed interest in the piano. But gets you a piano teacher, piano teaching lesson time. And they tell their children you have to rehearse the piano this amount of time every day. So some 2-3 hours daily. One of the major things they are achieving with that is keeping that child from other children. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Individuality. On your own, just play there. On your own, just gain mastery there. On your own, just gain mastery. The left hand of that achievement is this. They know that it takes certain disciplines to be able to master that sport or that musical instrument. So when they push the child to do that thing, the child is developing that perseverance required. The child is developing that ability to pick themselves up when they fail. The child is developing that patience to go through something, that long suffering to be able to go through something for a long period of time. This is a skill that is not found in many people. I'll tell you something, just do this research. Anybody you know that can play a musical instrument very well has some level of patience that the other person does not have. It takes patience to do that rehearsal. Hit that drum, do that thing over, the same thing over. It's patience. Although some people have not learned to translate that patience into other parts of their life, but that is patience there. So they are using all of these things to do one thing. Equip that child. Have a mind of your own. Gain mastery of yourself and attain self-discipline. Attain self-discipline. That's what they're trying to do. Don't follow the crowd. Do this thing by yourself. You know, another thing they teach their children is this. After all these things I broke down now, I'd like you to listen to them again. Once till they keep the child very close, parental influence. But when the child gets to the age of going to the university, there's a crazy practice the Jews do. They send that child farthest from them as they can. Now it is time to spread your own wings. Now it is time to express all of the ideologies inculcated. Now it is time. So, and they tell, some children say they don't want to go too far from the parents. They don't want to say, no. They elevate their children from any form of guilt. It's not don't think you're abandoning your family. Go. So the only thing that you can reward us with now is that you succeed greatly at the thing you said you want to do. You succeed greatly at the thing you said. Say, make us proud. That's the way to make us proud. Let us be here. It's not about your money. It's not about anything you give to us. Let us be here, see you on the news, hear your name or something, and then we have this white green and say, that's our child. So they tell them, after this long process of building something on your inside, after this long process, 16 years of discipline, now go and stand on your own, they say. Be your own man, they say. Have your own voice, they say. Engage yourself. Exercise yourself. Express yourself. Now you have time to give voice to your interpretation of all the information that we have been putting inside you all these 16 years. One of the reasons Nigerian parents do not allow or feel safe for their children to go to universities abroad or for further university, go to school in Zaria and all these places is they don't trust the parenting they've done. And interestingly, a child that is already 16 has a formed mind. That child staying at home longer than 16 doesn't mean much. It's a tough work to be able to reshape. Because the formation years is that 0 to 16. That is the formation years. So, you're already an adult, you're hearing this. I'll put a caveat before I conclude it. The caveat about the individuality of the Jews, I will balance this next week. Because coexistence and individuality exist amicably among the Jews. But the lesson there is this. You are only relevant to the community of the Jews when you have found your individual voice. This thing does not mean that you are on your own, that you are an alien. No. We are a community with a perfect blend of different individuals. That's what it is. That's what it is. The community wants to be able to trust your creativity. When Moses gave Bezalel the deed to design the Ark of God, nobody defined it. They didn't force him like this. So please, get what I'm trying to say to you. You're already an adult. And there's one book that I'm trying to pick up the author's name. But the book is about who is pulling my strings. When you read that book, you will see that some of us, a lot of the decisions that we have made all our life were not originally our decisions. We have people who are their mother's puppets, most ladies. Their mothers living their own dreams through the ladies, even in their marriages and all of that. To attain individuality, you must exercise your ability to investigate. So, and that's the key lesson for the day. Gather information, interpret the information, and take a stance based on your interpretation. And that's why a lot of times I ask people, so what do you think? What do you think? Jesus asked the disciples, who do men say I am? John, this, Elijah, and all those things? Based on all this information you've gathered, who do you say that I am? Individuality. What happened there? I asked a man before, I said to the man, what is going on between this man and your sister? I was asking him, what do you interpret of the information? Information is out there. Don't repeat to me the amplified gist. What do you think? What do you think about what is said, about what is going on? What do you think? Are you an amplifier, or you have a mind engine working on your inside? I want you to listen to this over and over again. And at the end of the day, answer the question for yourself, by yourself, to yourself. Are you an individual? Or you are a mob? Or you are just part of the mob? Are you an individual? See you next week, Monday. God bless you.